Today's featured artist on Frank's Magic Bus.
And our feature this time around is our guest, Peter Asher. He was the Peter of Peter and Gordon back in the 1960s. Great British invasion duo. Had a number one song that sounded just like the Beatles because it was written by a Beatle, Paul McCartney, World Without Love. And he hung around with McCartney because his sister, Jane Asher, the actress, was going with Paul McCartney pretty much throughout the 60s until he met Linda, and then they ended up getting married. But a lot of stories here about the early days of the Beatles and with Paul McCartney and with Gordon Waller, who passed away in recent years. And then Peter went on to pretty much handle the A&R duties of the brand new Apple record started up by the Beatles in England in 68, 69, pretty much took over the career of James Taylor, became his producer, and then Linda Ronstadt and others too in the 70s. And Peter Asher has put together a kind of a stage show, lecture type thing, heralding his career. You've got this multimedia show coming up in December. Now it's called A Musical Memoir of the 60s and Beyond. What, video clips and photos from your personal collection and stuff like that? It has to be an awesome collection.
Well, yes. I mean, to be honest, some of it a lot of it I had to kind of look for. I'm not by nature a collector. You know, some friends of mine like Bill Wyman of the Stones, you know, kept every ticket stub and every poster, and it's amazing. I wish I'd done that, but I didn't. But the truth is, of course, nowadays it's all out there. So once I went looking, as I was describing certain events and eras, I was looking for photos. Some I had. Lots I found. You know, it's great now that you can actually find stuff out there everywhere, whether it's something on eBay or someone lends you. But yeah, I've succeeded in assembling quite an interesting collection of stuff to go with basically a similarly, hopefully interesting collection of old memories and recollections and stuff.
Are people going to see any video clips from maybe old TV shows or any photographs that maybe people have never seen before?
Yes, they are. Yes. There's some... there's a couple of... There's a stunningly embarrassing one of Gordon and I dancing in weird costumes on the Red Skelton show, things like that you might not necessarily be expecting, which embarrass me, but get a laugh out of the audience. So what the hell?
Oh my gosh!
So yeah, there are some surprising and moments that people haven't seen before. Certainly, it's kind of a mixture of, you know, me, because what happened? I've realized that since Gordon tragically died, there would be no Peter and Gordon shows. But that I didn't really want to say I'd never sing those songs again. So I found a way of putting some of those songs, some other songs, plus, you know, just a reminiscence and a kind of a lecture about the era, along with a lot of bits and pieces of media. So we've done it. We've tried it out a couple of times. We did it in Canada once, and it did very well. So now we're trying New York on December 3rd and a couple of dates here near L.A. on the 5th and the 7th.
That is so interesting. Now, I grew up as a kid on the Beatles and on your music back in the British invasion 60s. I remember watching the Red Skelton show with my parents. I do remember you guys on Shindig, I think, and Hullabaloo. Those are on YouTube, I think. Yes,
they all are. The nice thing about some of those shows was they were at least live music. You know, Shindig, Hullabaloo, and Ed Sullivan were all live singing and playing, whereas so many of the other shows, you know, as admirable as Dick Clark American Bandstand was, it was a cool show. But of course, from a musical point of view, it was really boring because you were just lip-syncing to the record you'd made a year ago.
Yeah, I don't know if they ever did anything live on the American Bandstand.
So, no.
Yeah. Now, you are going to be telling stories as part of this multimedia presentation. You have to have the most inside, amazing stories. And I mean, starting with Paul McCartney, when your sister Jane was going with him pretty much throughout the 60s, and your connection to the Beatles, there have to be like 1,000 stories.
There are quite a few, yes, that's true.
A lot of people that listen to us in the USA don't realize that Jane Asher, your sister, went with Paul really for the duration of the American fame of the Beatles, pretty much like 63 through 68, right?
I don't remember. I tend to not remember exactly when things happened. But yeah, they were friends for a while.
Yeah.
Paul ended up spending a lot of time staying at our family home in London. I mean, he used the other room on the top floor of our house where I lived as a sort of pied-à-terre when they weren't on the road in London. So he was in that household, and then eventually, of course, he moved out and bought a fancy house of his own. But for a couple of years there, he was staying with us as a house guest. But you
and Gordon Waller were pretty much already musicians already, right, and starting your group up by then?
Oh, yes. We were playing together through school, and we'd met at school and were playing together for quite a while and ended up playing pubs and clubs and places like that, and that's how we ended up getting a record deal, and where certainly having Paul as a friend kicked in very helpfully indeed. Was after we got the record deal, we were looking for songs for our first session, and I remembered this half-finished song he'd he'd played us that was apparently kind of an orphan song that the Beatles weren't going to record and nobody else particularly wanted to do. So I asked Paul if he would finish that and let us record it, and that was World Without Love. So certainly, at the beginning of our career, owes him a huge debt.
Absolutely. Peter and Gordon, World Without Love, number one song here in the USA in the British invasion year of 1964. Everybody knows that song. And of course, when you think about how high octane the Beatles, Lennon and McCartney were at the time as far as songwriting capabilities, how prolific was McCartney at that time? Do you think that he could just give away a song that probably would have been number one for the Beatles too, right?
Well, yes, but that one, in that particular case, I say they'd actually decided not to do it. So, but yes, he was a prolific, of course, and utterly brilliant songwriter.